This is Ask Joe. Hello, and welcome to the Home Studio Corner podcast, also known as Ask Joe. Hashtag Ask Joe Gilder. That's a little too long. Anyway, hope you're doing well. Glad you're here. Got a good crew here live for the live stream. I say it every week. Tuesdays, 1 p.m. Central Time. Come hang out on the live YouTube stream. It is delightful. I promise. There's some cool people that hang out here, other than me. So that's fun. What else? My EP. As of this week, my EP will be done and uploaded to the interwebs for release on June 1st, 2017. So if you're listening to this way in the future, there's an EP coming out. I don't know if it's going to be called yet. It doesn't have a name yet, but it's the second EP of 4 that I'm releasing this year, and it's going to be fun. Which leads me to my topic of discussion today, before we dive into your questions. Creative pressure. Thanks to Johnny Lipsham for suggesting that topic. I think it's great, especially given that I am finishing up my EP this week, an EP that I began earlier this month. It is a 5-song EP, started with 7 or 8 songs, whittled it down to 5, and I think it's going to be really fun. It's an acoustic EP, so it's all acoustic guitar and vocals and percussion. That's it. And some of the songs are fun. Some of the songs are, several of them are a little more slower, introspective, and that type of thing. Hey, Sony Music India, please stop saying favorite EDM song over and over in the chat. That's not cool. I might have to block you if you keep going. Okay, sorry. Okay, so creative, what would you say, Johnny? You called it creative pressure? Under pressure. Anyway, creative pressure. The reason I do think, so for example, I'm releasing 4 EPs this year. I've talked about that already. I released one March 1st. This one will be June 1st, and then 2 more spread out evenly over the next 6 months. And the idea is I am a musician, and I need to be creating music. And as stupid simple as that sounds, it's easy to not do. I run into people all the time, especially in the home studio corner world, people who are passionate about music, but for whatever reason just aren't actually making any. And it's a shame. So it's kind of a twofold thing. A, I want to make more music because ultimately I want to play a show at the Ryman, and I need lots of music, good music to do that. I need music to get new fans. I need to be making music to become better at making music, all that kind of stuff. But the other reason is, since I have this audience with Home Studio Corner of like-minded musicians, I want to lead the charge, if that makes sense. I'm not just an engineer doing audio engineering tutorials. I'm a musician first who is making his own music. And if I'm not doing that, I don't feel like I have any leg to stand on when talking to you about making your music. So in a way, I'm trying to lead the way and make music so that you can see, okay, he's doing it, I can do it. If that idiot can do it, talking about me, then surely I can do it too. And I give you my blessing to call me an idiot. So why would I, so you say release music, sure, that's great. But why would I do this crazy challenge of releasing it in a month and doing 4 of them a year? Isn't that just putting too much pressure and forcing you to just create bad art? See, there's this fallacy that if you back yourself into a corner, the only result is bad music. So if I put myself in a place to have to really produce, then I'm going to do bad music. And it's just not true. There's that could happen, but people talk about it like it's a guaranteed thing to happen, that you have to just let the music come to you. You can't force it. You have to just be all zen, and suddenly good music will come pouring out of you. How many of you have gone to see your favorite band, and on stage when that guitar player has to play that killer guitar solo, and there's a pressure to get it right because it's live and maybe it's going to video and all this other stuff. Does that pressure make him worse or better? It makes him better because he's put in the work to be good already, and he's put himself in that situation 1,000 times to where now it's a good pressure that just forces him to perform versus something that causes him to shut down and just be awful. Does that make sense? So creative pressure, you don't have to copy me. I don't want you to go do 4 EPs this year just because I'm doing it. But think about what is it that you can do that puts some pressure on you, that kind of lights a fire under you to do something you've been wanting to do and meaning to do and intending to do for months, even years. That's the question I want you to have. That's the conversation I want you to have in your own head and see what comes out the other side. Because the only reason you're listening to this is because you have some interest in creating and making music, whether it's your own music or whether it's finding people to help you make music or finding artists that you can serve and help them release their music. There's just no reason to not be creating. So if you find yourself and you look up and you say, man, I haven't created anything in a long time, remedy that. It doesn't have to be a huge 15-song album. It could be a single song, acoustic guitar, vocal, something just to get the wheels moving and to get that momentum going, and then just keep going, keep going, keep going. I see that Gary Fox is here on the live chat. Gary does the RPM challenge. I don't know if you do it every year, Gary, but he did one in February of this year where they give themselves a month to write and record a 10-song album. And I know because I just listened to the entire thing. He hired me to critique his mixes and get back to him. And I will tell you, because you could not, if you had sent me this album and just said, hey, Joe, you need to listen to this and give me a critique, I would have critiqued it the same. Whether he did it in a month or in 10 years is irrelevant because it sounds really good. He did a good job on the music, and the amount of time spent is almost irrelevant. But it's super cool for Gary because now he has an album, and he really just had to give a month of his life to recording it. And to me, that's super cool. So pressure, a lot of people don't want pressure. They don't want stress. But don't you kind of want pressure and stress, especially if you're a performer? Doesn't a part of you want to perform in front of tens of thousands of people, even though you know it would be stressful, but you also know that you would love it? That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, you could try to produce a song and it could suck, but it could also be awesome. And isn't that worth the trade-off? Isn't it worth the risk? I think so. Okay, rant over. Let's get into yo questions. Boom. My apologies to all the live streamers. I had the volume up way too loud, and that might have just knocked your face off. Please forgive me for that transition being so loud. Okay, I want to jump into your questions. I see a lot of cool questions in the chat. I think there were some questions on Facebook. Yes, there were a couple. Let me answer those, and we will just jump on in. Ben Holmes says, when writing songs, do you have any tips for forcing yourself to use different chord progressions or techniques for learning new ones? It depends on where you are. I'm always looking for new and better ways to write a song. And so whenever I play guitar, I'm trying to play something I haven't played before. That's hard to do because I've played a lot of songs and I've written a lot of songs. So it comes down to something interesting. It might just be an inversion of a chord. It might be just literally playing around with different voicings until something strikes me as interesting, and then I work my way back from there. It's not a matter of... I used to be, I didn't know music theory well enough, so I would just play a chord and then play another random chord and hunt and peck until I found something that worked. That's fine. You can do that. For me, knowing kind of having a good grasp of music theory and knowing what the quote-unquote proper things to do in a particular key are, and then also finding ways to get around that and to move from that, that to me gets really interesting. So you'll hear this in my song, sometimes I'll do like a key change just for a bridge and then resolve back to the original key. It's different, it's unexpected, it's things like that I think make the song interesting for me. So first and foremost, I need to like the song. I need to listen and enjoy it and want to play it and want to work on it and listen to it. If I don't, then there's no point. It's got to be something I'm into. If I'm bored by that chord progression because I've heard it 1,000 times, I'm not going to write a song. I'm going to move on and try to get something that I'm not bored by, if that makes sense. Joe Birchley says, I've heard some of your acoustic tracks that you've been using as backing music for Gilder Cam, and they sound great. As hard as I try, I cannot get my acoustic guitars to sound as crisp and like they are in your face as yours. Many people with similar YouTube channels to yourself preach that the radio-ready, quote-unquote, sound doesn't come from the gear, but from the recording technique and knowing your tools. How do you get your acoustic tracks to sound so good? I understand it's a wide area, but are there certain techniques you employ to get the strings to bounce out of the speakers? Joe, this is a great question, and it's one that the only real way to answer this would be for you to come, or for me to come to your, the best way to answer this would be for me to come to your studio, sit down, hear what your guitar sounds like, hear what your playing sounds like, and then hear what your recording sounds like. Because those are the variables. My guitars, this is going to sound super arrogant, but it's the truth. My guitars sound good because I'm a really good guitar player, and I also play really good guitars. So all the guitars on this upcoming EP, it is 100% my Gibson J45. As much as I wrestle with that thing to stay in tune, it is a fantastic sounding guitar, especially in the studio. It sounds great. Combine that with I'm a good player, and I've been playing for, 20 years. I don't know. That makes me feel old. Been playing a really long time. And then combine that with I also have good microphones and good preamps and good mic placement and a decent quiet sounding room. All of that goes into it. So I'm one of those YouTubers who talks about it's more about the technique than the gear, but I take it a step further. It's not so much, I don't think technique is all that important. Like, you need to know the basic techniques of recording and the basic principles, which is what I'm going to cover in my upcoming Intro to Recording course. Check it out. That was a great commercial. So you need to know the basics of that stuff, but you've got to understand that that's the small part. The big part is capturing something great that's happening, right? If there's something great happening in the room that sounds amazing, you just have to slap a mic in front of it and capture that. You don't have to there's no magic technique. It's not like you're in my guitars in the room sound exactly the same, but somehow I'm able to capture it better than you. Pretty sure that's not the case. I'm pretty sure if you came to my studio and I sat down and you set up microphones, you would land on a sound pretty similar to mine because I'm the one playing guitar and it's going to sound like me. Now, granted, there are lots of places to place that microphone that will give you different results, and I have honed that over years and years of recording acoustic guitars. I've found the 2 to 3 spots that I like to put the microphone that work really well. The latest for me is using an XY pattern. I know, stereo, I usually don't talk about that. Using an XY pattern, and on that J45, it goes against all the rules, but I have it, if this is the XY pattern, I have it pointing right at the sound hole, which sounds bad. So it means this mic is pointing above the sound hole, but this mic is pointing below, and it gives me this ridiculously balanced and full sound. If you were here early for the live chat, you heard me playing a song from the upcoming EP that's just a fingerstyle acoustic guitar and vocals. That's how I recorded it. It sounds big and full and awesome. So I don't know if that answers your question, Joe. It's probably not quite the answer you want, but I think it's the right answer. So anyway, and yes, I would love to go do location recordings. I think that's the next thing I want to do more of is people hire me to come into your studio and help you get good sounds, because I could do a course or like a workshop here in Nashville, and we could set up in a great room with great players and great gear, and we'd get great sounds. And that's something. That's good, and that's valuable, and I do that kind of thing. But I think also it'd be super cool to go to someone's place and then use your gear and your musicians and get good recordings and figure out a way to make that work. Because there is a level of technique there that you just can't quite get across. Okay, quick announcement. Those of you in the chat, I'm looking at you, Sony Music India. Just ask your question once. If you keep asking it over and over, it bogs down the chat. You got to just chill a little bit. Simon says, Joe, as soon as I said that, another one came through. Joe, you should do that and document it, kind of like Gilder Cam. Oh, like going to someone's place? Yes, whatever I do will be on Gilder Cam for sure. Isaac says, oh, he's just being nice and flattering me. I won't read that because I'm humble. When recording acoustic guitar, do you need acoustic treatment or is the middle of the room better? I tend to record just with a couple of gobos around me to give it just a nice dead sound. But anyway, that's typically good. I don't like to have any room sound in my acoustic guitars mostly. Especially now that I'm in this room, I've got the wood wall behind me now. This room is really live. I don't do a lot of recording in here now. Mostly it's in there in the dead room. Johnny Fuller had a dream that I came to his studio and did exactly what I was talking about. Huh, you dreaming about me, Johnny? That's a new level of awesome. Eric Schumann, do you play others' tunes to learn their progressions to create a similar one? So listen to other people's music and then copy their chord progressions? I do some. I don't so much copy. I don't listen with the intent of copying chord progressions. I can hear. I'm just the way my brain works. I can hear a song and I know what chords they're playing. I may not know the exact key they're in, but I know they're playing the 1 and then the 4 and then the 6 and then the 2 minor and then the 5. Like I can hear that and just kind of. And so I'm making mental notes all the time whenever I'm listening to anything. What was that chord progression? Oh, interesting. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I didn't realize that's what that chord progression was. So in a sense, I'm always doing it no matter what music I'm listening to, which can ruin listening to music sometimes. What's the best way to send a song idea from Studio One to a band member to work on songwriting ideas? Does it have to be mastered first? Just export it. Just like you would send any other song to any other person in any other scenario. Just bounce it out. And yes, I would put a limiter on the end just to get the volume up so that it's not super, super quiet and they can turn it up and hear everything okay. Jonathan says, what type of tips do you have for taking full band arrangements and making them translate acoustically? You need an acoustic guitar player who's good and then just kind of turn them loose. So for me, acoustic guitar is my first instrument. Well, I guess piano was, but it's my main, it's my go-to, the thing I'm most comfortable playing. And so I love taking songs and then making acoustic versions of them. The song Mission, for example, we use that on Mixed Together. You've probably heard it 1,000 times. It's a rock and roll song, but it starts off with that electric riff. But it's really cool to change it to acoustic and to play that riff, but you have to play it differently. And it's a really fun song to play when I do like Writers' Nights. I play that acoustic. It's way different than the full band version, but it's fun. So I think it's just a matter of finding a way to play it that makes it work on acoustic guitar and just trying a lot of things. If you want practice, you could try to do covers of heavy songs with acoustic guitar and just, instead of trying to copy it exactly, try to find a new way of playing it that's interesting on acoustic and then just do that over and over again. You'll start to get good at it. If you can't travel, have people GoPro their setup of mics and you critique that. Well, yeah, that could work. It's not really so much, I don't need to know what your mics are. I guess that doesn't sound as fun as sitting there and hearing. The thing is, I can never hear what it sounds like in the room unless I'm in the room. You know what I mean? You can kind of fake it, but I don't know. Joe, do you find your mixes sound different with the new wall? I haven't mixed enough in here since putting up the wall to know yet. But honestly, in the last few years, I've gotten in the habit of doing a fair amount of mixing on my headphones, or at least checking it towards the end of the mix, just to make sure my room isn't being a jerk. So, to be determined. I don't know yet. Why don't you do a video about how you use screen capture software and doing all that? I could. That's just not. I talk about music, and so I could do it. Actually, I did do one for my VIP members about that. So there you go. Done it. Brett says, hey, Joe, for your upcoming intro to recording class, who would you recommend this class to? Someone just starting or someone just maybe wanting to fill in the gaps in their recording knowledge? Brett, that's exactly the way I worded it. I think it's for both, of course. It's definitely going to be for someone starting out, but it's also if you feel like you're missing some gaps, I think it would be good for you as well. Now, I know I'm completely biased, but the idea is it's not today we're going to learn about what sample rate is, and we're going to do a mathematical problem to decide. I don't care about all that. We'll talk about it just in the context of here's what you need to know to make good music. If that makes sense. Oh, yeah, my new fan is right there. You just can't see it in this shot. How would you mic an old archtop guitar with F holes and no preamp pickup? I would stick a mic in front of it and see what it sounds like. And then I would move the mic until it sounds like I want it to sound. Or I'd change the mic if the mic isn't working. What are your favorite strings for recording acoustic guitar? I've been a medium string guy for a long time, but I just recently got lights just because they had the 10-pack that I wanted. And they're fine. Yeah, they're easier to play, which I like when I'm doing a marathon session and playing all day. It's nice to not have my fingers completely die on me. Will Paxton's here says, have you ever XY mic'd with a large diaphragm and a small diaphragm? If so or not, how would you go about doing so? The size of mic doesn't matter. It's a little more awkward because they're not the same shape, but it really doesn't matter. Just do it. Set it up. Go. Just make the levels balanced and go to town. Would you consider releasing that to your non-members? No, but VIP's $10 a month. If you want to check it out for a month and then cancel or get a refund or whatever, you're welcome to. But yeah, that's for VIP members. That's part of how I am able to do things like this free. All the free stuff I do is I do some stuff that people pay for, and that's how I make my income. Bill Rexford says, I have a Dropbox account. How do I use it for music? I'm not sure what you mean by use it for music. You just upload your MP3s there, and then it gives you an option to share the link with people. I mean, I'm not sure what you mean. Use it for music. It's just a file sharing service, so it's not really a music service, but it's what I use to share files back and forth with my clients, if that's what you're asking. All right, let's scroll back up, see any questions I miss. Mark said, do you use multiple reverbs on a song or one reverb bust? Do several reverbs cause any issues? I occasionally use more than one reverb. They're always bust for me, 99% of the time. So my mix template is literally has two reverbs in it, a long plate reverb and a shorter room reverb, and then I just send a track to one or the other depending on what it needs. I don't have any theoretical problems with using multiple reverbs. People like to get some sort of like theory of mixing, and I'm more of, this guitar could use a nice long reverb on it. Send. Ooh, these drums could use a nice room reverb. Send. I don't think, oh no, I've got one going to one reverb and another going to another. That's not consistent. I don't care. Nobody's listening. They're just saying, hey, that's a cool snare sound. And that will include the EQ that you use, the mic placement, the round of reverb that you put on it. They're not listening and saying, oh, you've got this here and that. Whatever sounds good, do it. Best way to master sound designing? I don't know. I don't do sound design. But my guess is practice. Preparation for mixing, I don't understand the question. I record really, really good sounding tracks, and that's how I prepare for mixing. Hey Joe, Zuki from Jerusalem here. First time I've made it live. That's awesome. But been a fan since 2010. That's awesome. You're an old school fan. I'm a keyboard player. Whenever I need a guitarist, I'm forced to play it myself, which isn't ideal. And then you didn't finish your thought. The thing is, you're not forced to play it yourself. You think you are. But I bet somewhere in this planet is someone else who could play guitar better than you, who would play guitar for you, either for money or just for friendship or for favors. You're a keyboard player, they're a guitar player. You could each play on each other's stuff. There are lots of ways to find guitar players. I'm sure there are some in Jerusalem. If that's not happening, then here, I bet literally in this chat, you could find someone that you could collaborate with and have something this weekend and not have to play it yourself. I'm not against playing it yourself, but if you're not, you said it's not ideal. And so if you're not good at guitar, either get good at guitar or have someone else play it, because playing it yourself and being bad at it is just a bad idea. At best, you'll end up with mediocre sounds. Kevin Kelly says, any thoughts on what could cause a good sounding grand piano to sound ragtimey when recorded? Or for lack of a better term, this happens with multiple pianos and signal chains, so it's probably me. Pianos are hard. The thing about recording something like that is, especially something loud like that, even guitar amps are the same way. You've got to record something and then stop and listen back. Listen back to the recording. Because if you're only listening while the person's playing and you're in the same room, the piano is going to sound amazing because it's a big, loud thing, just like a big, loud guitar amp. If you're only really listening through headphones and there's an amp blaring 5 feet away from you, it's going to sound very different than what the actual recording sounds like. Instead, you should record something, stop, and then listen through your nice speakers, nice headphones, whatever you have. Does that sound good? If it doesn't, then you repeat the process and you go place the microphones in a different place. My guess is you just got them in a place that's just picking up a lot of mid-range and not picking up the full sound of the instrument. I would love to do a recording piano course at some point. I just don't do it enough. I just end up using samples. No one's going to mention the 3.5 update that Studio One launched today. I heard about it just in this chat. See, here's the thing. I think updates are great, and I will update eventually, and I will check it out. I won't read the release notes because I update when I can, and then I notice if things are different. I think too many people want to focus on the new updates and not on making music. I said it. Meaning, I don't notice the updates because I'm working. And like I'll update it when I get a chance, but I'm working and I'm working. And what I've got's working. If they add features that make my life better, great. But my life is good now before I had those features, so I'm not waiting around for those features. And you know what I mean? Like people want, oh, I need this feature. You don't really need it. Oh, I need to upgrade my DAW. You don't really need to upgrade your DAW. I'm just saying. People are getting mad at me. Oh, you know you love me. How do I get a full sounding electric guitar recording without buzzing coming through my amp? Well, in my opinion, buzzing is what makes a good electric guitar recording. I don't know. Like, it depends on the style of music and all that. If it's rock music, buzzy guitar amps are just part of the deal, and I kind of love it. So Uncle Zuki is back talking about he was the one who said I either record the guitar myself or use a virtual instrument like Acoustic Strummer from Native Instruments. What are your thoughts on this? The sound is great, but is it cheating? Here's the difference. Now, I've heard a few of those samples. As an acoustic guitar player, obviously I'm a little offended, like, oh, how dare they try to replace me? But that's technology, and I get that. And if you can make it sound good and it sounds real and it doesn't sound bad, then I'm all for it, right? It's kind of like there is no reason I should. Here's a great example. There's no reason I should be able to put out videos that look as good as my latest ones when I just bought a camera and I use iMovie. I know nothing about video editing. I just kind of stumble along in this super simple software. And I'm sure there are professional filmmakers who turn their nose up at people like me who grab a camera and shoot stuff, edit it together, put some music in there, and it turns out looking pretty good. Because I'm not trained in the art. I haven't studied filmmaking. That's true, but I'm making videos and I like them and I like doing it and I'm having fun and they're turning out well, so I'm going to keep doing that. So if you make music and it sounds like a full band and I listen to it and I say, man, this band is great, mission accomplished. Even if it was all virtual instruments and none of it was played by a human being, if you came up with something that sounds great, that's the deal, right? It's just, for me personally, I love picking up instruments and playing them. I love playing music with other people, so I don't get as much joy out of sitting here with a mouse and programming MIDI and having software create the music for me. But there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's plenty of people who, they get a new virtual instrument and it's one of those where a lot of the patches are you just push a button and it makes all these cool sounds, and that they create songs that way. There are people who look down on them and say they're not musicians. I say they are musicians because they still have to pick and choose which of those sounds they're going to play and which ones they're going to play together and how they're going to layer things together. It's still, there's so much creativity involved. This technology has just allowed you to get there quicker in some ways, but you can't get around still needing to be talented and have a good ear for music. Just like any of those filmmakers are not threatened by me because I still don't have their eye for film, and I still don't have their knack for storytelling. I'll get better at it because I want to get better at it, but it doesn't, anyway, rant over. It's a good question though. Does your mixer console have motorized faders? How does it work in your DAW? No, it does not. It is just a mixer, just as if it was a big old Mackie console. It's just a mixer. It just happens to be digital and happens to, instead of using a bunch of cables to go into an audio interface, it just has a FireWire cable that comes in, and that's how I record. It doesn't control my DAW at all. Just a mixer. Just a mixer. Just a mixer. David says, I don't know why so much hate about VST instruments. If I could not play instruments, I would rather have some cool VSTi to enjoy. You know, enjoyment is what it's all about. The problem is when, and I hear a lot of these, people can't play music, and so they get these virtual instruments, and they're trying to write parts for these orchestras, for example, but they have no ear for what the parts need to be. You know what I mean? So they write, and it's technically each instrument sounds good in the sense that the sample is good, but the music is boring and they don't know how to write music. So that's kind of where a lot of the hate comes from, is people who have these great sounding things, but they're still not good musicians and can't make it sound good. Does that make sense? Like, it sounds technically good, but the song is boring. I had a guy, I've probably told this story before, several years ago. He emailed me a song of his to listen to, and I get a decent amount of emails, so I can't always listen to everybody's stuff. I try to listen to stuff as much as I can, but and I listened to it, and I think he maybe even asked for feedback, and so if you ask for feedback, I try to give something, right? So I listened, I said, hey, it sounds good. I thought this, I can't remember what I said. Something like this piano could be a little more full. It felt kind of thin and this and this. And then he comes back ridiculously defensive and literally claimed to me that his music was absolutely perfect. It was a perfect piece of music, he said. I don't even know how one could ever claim. And all I remember about it is it was really boring. Really, really boring. It was instrumental to start, and it was just like chords and piano. It was so boring, but to him it was perfect. Why do I tell you this? You can have great tools and still make bad music, maybe? I don't know. And somebody may think he might find other people in the world who think it is indeed the perfect piece of music. Someone who claims that, I kind of say, okay, you're a little disconnected from reality. That's fine. And again, if you enjoy it, and that's great. I'm not here to judge. But when you ask for my feedback, don't get mad at me when I give you feedback. How can I make an 808 style bass line audible on smartphones? There's a lot of tools out there for that. I don't do a lot of 808 style bass lines here. I mean, I have mixed a few. One trick that I try to do is duplicate the track and put distortion on it and then blend that in. So you're not going to hear the bzzz so much as it just adds a little extra upper mid-range that allows you to hear the bass a little more, especially on smaller speakers. I know Waves has a plugin, I think it's Max Bass or R Bass or one of those, that does it generates upper harmonics to allow you to hear bass on smaller speakers. That may be an option. Look at me promoting a Waves plugin. Shame. Ben says, what's your dream electric guitar? A 335? Yeah, I don't think I can get much better than that red 335 over there. I was recording this week, and with just a nice overdrive sound and just switching the pickups and the volume knobs, I can get so many different tones. I could play it for days, and I should. I should spend an entire day playing that guitar soon. Kenneth says, nothing can replace the soulful spontaneity of a real guitar player. True, but it depends on the style of music too. If it's like an electronic dance music, then there's really no place for a soulful guitar player there. Do you have a solid state drive as opposed to a hard disk drive for your general audio music production? If you use an SSD, what are your thoughts? So here's something interesting. So all my hard drives here in the studio, the one in my iMac, which is my studio computer, and the 3 hard drives I have, one's mostly for video and backup, and the other 2 are for audio. Really, it's just one for audio. They're all just normal, solid, hard disk drives, 7,200 RPM, FireWire USB drives. That's what I've always used, and they work fine. But on my laptop, I've got a MacBook Air. It's a 3-year-old MacBook Air. That thing has a solid state drive inside. And when I'm doing video editing, which I've started doing heavy editing for Gilder Cam. So I'm up, I was up till 1:30 last night editing today's episode. It goes so much faster, video editing on that little laptop. I just bring it all to the internal drive, and it goes so much faster than if I try to edit on my big studio computer. Even though the studio computer has twice as many cores on its processor and has more RAM, it's still that the streaming that video is a lot slower. I think that's the reason. I think it's the solid state versus, even if I bring an external drive to my laptop, it's a little bit slower than if I just do it on the internal solid state drive. Graham Cochran was talking about recently that he just upgraded his studio computer to all internal solid state drives, and everything's a lot faster. So that really does seem to be, hard disk drives are pretty old technology. It's literally a spinning platter, like the same technology we had for vinyl records and CDs, and those aren't really around anymore, but still our hard drives are spinning up. So it seems like solid state makes sense. However, they are really expensive. I looked into getting an external solid state, and then I said, nope, not worth it. Also, I don't even save all the raw footage from Gilder Cam because it's like I filled up a 500 gigabyte hard drive in a week, and there's no way I'm going to buy a couple terabyte drives every month just to hold footage I'll never actually go look at again. So maybe that makes me a bad vlogger. Don't care. Simon says, Joe, do you ever go back and go through old sessions? I have a hard drive of years of old work with lots of unused takes and large sessions. Do you have a routine for when you go through your old hard drives, or do you just buy new ones and forget about it? Yeah, when my hard drives get full, I may look for a handful of things I can delete to save space when it comes to music stuff. And I've saved everything, but no, I literally never go back and open them up unless it's for a specific reason, like I need an instrumental version of that song. But I don't. I mean, I got sessions and an album I recorded once when I lived up in Indiana in the studios at Sweetwater. We never released, I never mixed, I never finished it. And I've got it on a hard drive somewhere. But I doubt I'll ever actually open it up again. Plus, I don't have Pro Tools on this machine, so I can't open up most of them anyway. I always have the idea of I want to save this in case I ever want to go back and look through it. I do that with everything. Like I want to keep my calendar up to date so I can go 10 years from now and look back and see what I was doing today. I've never done that. I've never actually gone back and looked at it. So it's kind of a moot point. Dalen says, do you have experience putting together albums? Where and how do you start? Dalen, I have no idea what you're asking, my friend. You mean like recording in a full album? Yeah, like that's what I do, but I'm not sure what maybe you can give me a more specific question. How do you handle archiving your sessions? I don't do this well. I usually just back them up to so I've recently switched to Backblaze, which is like a $5 a month, and it backs up all my hard drives to the cloud. So I back my stuff up to my backup drive when I think about it, but even if I don't, every night at midnight, it gets backed up to the cloud, so I can always get it back if I need it. And that's what I do. Proper file management would mean at the end of a session, when everything's said and done, you go in and remove all the unused files to make it nice and clean. I just don't do it. I do export all the multitracks to all my files, all my songs, but that's only because I've got a product called Mix Practice where my people who own that get all my multitracks to all my music. So that's where I put them. But it's nice to have those multitracks because if PreSonus goes under and there's no more Studio One, I'll still have the multitrack files to my albums, and I can't imagine WAV files being outdated anytime soon. How sore are you from working out? I'm really sore. Like today, my shoulders and my quads are killing. Yeah, I'm sore. This is like week 4, and I still get. And my buddy who's been doing it for years still gets sore. So maybe that's just my life now. It's cool though. I'm enjoying it. Wow, I'm glad I'm doing it. I've seen videos on parallel compression on whole mixes, but drums. It sounds great. Are there downsides to doing this or problems that can occur? As long as there's not like a phase weirdness when you do it, which just depends on how your system does the routing and the alignment and all that stuff, latency and all that, I think it's fine. Again, if try it. If it sounds good, great. If you hear it make the mix sound a lot thinner, then I would probably stop doing it. Have you ever mixed a project with a big choir? I just did, and the band is leaking in the choir mics. How do you do it to make it better? So if it's a full band project, I haven't done one specifically like that, but if I was mixing it, I would roll off all the lows and mids on the choir, so it's just bright and airy, and then that's it. Because if it's a full band, then you don't need a lot of low end or mid range in those. They're really, I'm guessing, more for background. And in that case, you can get rid of a lot of the lows and the mids and be in good shape. Stian, I did not answer your question about mastering. Hit me up again, but congrats on the gig. He just said he got a call about a double gig with his band this summer. That's why he's been off the chat. That is super cool. Isaac just noticed the change to my studio wall. Good for you. Chris says, I saw a cover video of you playing a Taylor. What model was it? That's my Taylor 314. Love that guitar, but I love the J45 more. Have you ever mixed a project with a big... Oh, sorry. I already answered that question. All right. We're running out of time. My voice is running out of voice. First time to the live show. This is Dave saying, longtime fan. When I try home producing songs with virtual instruments, namely piano, it all sounds thin. Any tips to thicken and add depth? A big part of it, Dave, could be your playing and your performing. You could just not be playing it very well. It could be that you're using really cheap samples. I'm all about getting it right at the source. And if you're using virtual instruments, your source is literally the samples and then the performance. If those aren't good, then no amount of mixing is going to fix that. I think that's it. Yep, that's all the ones I see. Stian says, I need mastering for my May EP challenge songs. You don't have a client work button on the page. How do I go about getting you to master my mixes? You send me an email, and I say, it's this much, and it's not much money. And then you send me the files, and then you win Grammys, and then you thank me from the stage, specifically by name, and you maybe mention Gilder Cam, and then I get 1 million subscribers, and that's how that's going to go. Perfect.